Yes.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had the chance to connect and recharge during the lunch break. Now let's continue with the next segment of our conference. Our next session will focus on justice, where we will explore our island's justice system and examine its current landscape of opportunities and challenges and how various agencies navigate through it. Please join me in welcoming our guest speaker for our justice session, Chief of Police for the Guam Police Department, Stephen Ignacio, to the stage.
Howdy, good afternoon, everybody. Everybody hear me okay? Yeah, we're good, all right. First off, I'd like to thank the School of Business and Public Administration and this class, of course, for inviting me today to be your keynote speaker, but also to sit and engage with the students as a panelist once I'm done speaking. For those who don't know, I'm your Chief of Police. I've been your Chief of Police since 2019. I'm about 6.5 years into my term as the Chief of Police. Sorry, I use the word term. I'm not a senator. Nor am I running for senator. Right? But I'm also a very proud alumni of the University of Guam. I obtained my bachelor's degree in public administration here and also my master's in public administration from the University of Guam. And I'm just going to throw it out there a little bit. I was also selected and I was a distinguished alumni graduate, I think in 2022, sometime during crisis time, president crisis time. So it's been a while, but again, it's nice to walk the halls of the University of Guam. I walked these halls many times, and I really enjoyed being a student here. And I really looked at myself and said, you know, wonder if there's any other opportunities for Stephen at the University of Guam. What else can I major in? Maybe some more studies. Sorry, we're having a little discussion with Attorney Terlai about majoring in Chamorro studies. But again, afternoon and good afternoon. I was given some topic agendas, and you know the topic agendas that I was asked to present on today, it talks about a wide array of things that are personal to me. First topics that they asked me to talk about, which was leadership and service. It's truly a privilege to be here today, speaking to future leaders in criminal justice and public administration. My name is Chief Stephen Ignacio, and I have had the honor of serving as the longest tenured Chief of Police in the Guam Police Department history. Throughout my tenure, I have seen firsthand how strong leadership, collaboration, and vision can turn challenges into opportunities. Today, I want to share my experiences in law enforcement leadership, the progress we've made, the challenges we face, and how we are shaping the future of policing in Guam. I also want to encourage you to think about the role you can play in law enforcement, public service, and policy making. Leadership goes far beyond making decisions. It's about making the right decisions, even when they are challenging or unpopular. This is especially true in law enforcement, where the stakes are high and our decisions have real consequences for the safety and trust of the community. I've learned throughout my career that we cannot rely solely on emotions or immediate reactions. Instead, our approach must be strategic, objective, and grounded in data, ensuring that our policies and enforcement strategies are both fair and effective. One of the most important lessons in leadership has taught me is selflessness. True leadership is always about placing the needs of our team and the well-being of the community above our personal interests or comfort. Leadership at its core is about service rather than authority. This principle has guided me throughout my career and continues to shape my approach to public safety and community engagement. Ultimately, effective leadership demands proactive planning, clear-eyed objectivity, and an unwavering commitment to public service. You know, as I talk about leadership and policing, I had to be interviewed for the job of the Guam Police Department Chief. And I sat before the governor of Guam, and she asked me, Chief Ignacio, I'm sorry, I wasn't chief yet. It was an interview, it was a job interview. She goes, Captain Ignacio, what is one word that you can use to describe yourself? And you know, using one word when you're going to be in a position of chief of police is kind of hard to describe yourself. But I chose the word, and it's one of the words that I believe is my philosophy of leadership, is fair. I said, I am a fair person. I don't care who you are, what your last name is, I don't care who you're from or who you know. Whenever decisions have to be made, they will be made fairly. All my employees will be treated fairly. Everybody will have the fair shake in promotions, in discipline, you know, in leadership and authority, in assignments. Fair is how I best describe myself. And I got the job. Thank you very much, Governor. Turning vision into action. When I became chief, many important initiatives have been discussed for years, but had yet to move beyond conversation. My priority was turning those discussions into tangible actions. We successfully secured retention bonuses and pay raises, significantly boosting officer recruitment and retention. We also upgraded our technology by modernizing our communications through the land mobile radio system and enhanced our fleet with new patrol vehicles. Infrastructure development has been another key focus, including the construction of the Talafofo Koban and the ongoing development of an evidence control and property facility, which will greatly improve service delivery to our community. Currently, we are actively seeking legislative support to acquire property for a new precinct in Jigo, aiming to enhance public safety and policing effectiveness in the northern part of our island. A highlight of our recent accomplishments was hosting the International Homicide Investigators Association, or IHIA for short, training in March 2025. This two-week intensive session brought together more than 150 law enforcement officers from over 21 Pacific Oceania agencies, one as far away as Nauru, significantly strengthening regional homicide investigation capabilities. This training underscores our department's commitment to maintaining our nearly 100% homicide solve rate. Additionally, we continue to invest in specialized training, particularly in high-impact drug operations and interdictions. Under my leadership, our department has expanded substantially, secured essential legislative support for officer compensation and retention, and made significant investments in advanced technology and infrastructure. Our technological advancements include virtual reality training simulations and sophisticated data and geomapping systems that enhance our crime analysis capabilities. These comprehensive improvements reinforce our dedication to excellence in law enforcement and our ongoing commitment to serving and protecting our community. Justice and honor. Today, being a police officer is more difficult than ever. Law enforcement is under increased scrutiny, and every decision we make is questioned. However, despite the challenges, policing remains one of the most honorable professions. I still believe in the honor of the badge. Every day, our police officers put on the uniform and put their lives on the line with the mission of protecting our communities, ensuring public safety and upholding justice. At the Guam Police Department, we hold ourselves to the highest standards with stringent training and recruitment processes. Officers undergo rigorous preparation to ensure they meet the demands of modern policing. While the expectations are high, the reward of serving and making a real impact is even greater. Justice is the cornerstone of a stable society, emphasizing fairness, accountability, and transparency. GPD prioritizes equal access to justice, particularly ensuring fair representation for indigent defendants. Modern policing faces significant scrutiny, making accountability and ethical standards crucial. Our officers continually receive training in ethics, procedural justice, and community engagement. We also interview in this room. I know that for sure. Trust me, it's really young. 1987 is when I joined the Guam Police Department. The Guam Police Department never owned, back then, computers. No computers in the Guam Police Department. I remember when they delivered the first computer, I was reassigned from patrol to the Criminal Investigation Division, the detectives, in 1989. And I remember how amazed I was when I first saw the first computer that the Guam Police Department purchased, assigned to the secretary to write reports. And I was just amazed. And I was like, wow, can we get one? And they're like, no, we can't afford it yet. We'll get you one later. But really, if you look at how technology shapes not just the Guam Police Department, but all of us, right? What's one thing we never leave without? Cell phones. We never leave with cell phones. It's always with us, day in, day out. Whatever you want to do, pay your bills, access your presentation for today's keynote speaker, right? We always have our cell phones. We have an exercise later about cell phones and how we use it in our life. But really, I remember police reports. We used to handwrite police reports. Now, everything is written, entered digitally, electronically. We don't have 40-foot containers with police reports from 1968, 1967. You know, everything is now electronic. We've stored everything digitally. And that's how we've harnessed technology. But there's other things that we've harnessed in technology. One of the things that's coming here soon, body-worn cameras. So we're going to have body-worn cameras in the Guam Police Department. We're going through our training phase right now. And we're going to have body-worn cameras. And, people ask me, well, how do you feel about body-worn cameras? I have a defense attorney who's excited about this. He's like, Yes, there's evidence now. Right, Attorney Kalai?
Yeah.
I want to subpoena your body worn cameras. You know, and as I go around now and I talk to my officers about, hey, we're getting body worn cameras. You know, it comes with the warning, right? Because, you know, once the body worn camera's turned on, and once it starts to record, you know, there's no turning back. Every decision now, every action you take, every move you make will be captured. Everything you do or say is now going to be caught on camera. And that's good. And that's good, right? Because, you know, unfortunately, the Guam Police Department also, we have to use force. That's the inherent part and the inherent job of the Guam Police Department. There are certain situations where there's no other alternative but to use force. Sometimes the use of force is deadly. People get killed. Officers kill people in their line of duty. That's the stark reality of the work we do. That's the ultimate part of the job that we do. But you know, our body-worn cameras is just one of those technologies that we're incorporating as I talk about technology in the Guam Police Department. One of those things that we're going to be using to improve technology. And for Attorney Terlai, when we pull out now the taser, it'll trigger the body-worn camera, and it'll show exactly what prompted us to pull out the taser and to deploy it. And it's going to have a sensor. So this is how we incorporate technology, right, into the Guam Police Department. And really, computers, mobile, and just computers in general and cell phones, they're inescapable and unavoidable. They're just really a big part of our technology. Come on up, we're waiting for you. Drug enforcement. Drug enforcement continues to be a major priority for the Guam Police Department. We've successfully secured federal funding that has allowed us to significantly enhance our task force operations by acquiring specialized technology and equipment essential for covert operations. But our approach doesn't stop there. We carefully balance enforcement actions with proactive prevention measures and meaningful rehabilitation initiatives to address the broader issue. Looking ahead, I plan to host a Pacific Regional Drug Prevention and Enforcement Summit in 2026. This summit will bring together partners from across the region to strengthen intelligence sharing, enhance strategic planning, and promote effective community-based rehabilitation programs. It will be an important step forward in our collective effort to combat drug-related issues in Guam and the broader Pacific region. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Pacific region. In my last 6 years as chief of the Guam Police Department, you know, meth doesn't affect just our community. I've seen how it's starting to affect the broader Pacific region. And I've had a discussion with this island nation, Palau. Man, Palau is just getting steamrolled by meth. I say that only because we do the analysis. The Guam Police Department, we're not just a lab for the Guam law enforcement. We're what we call a regional lab. And Palau, CNMI, Marshall Islands, FSM, they all rely on the Guam Police Department, especially our drug analysis unit, to do the testing for their drugs. And let me tell you, man, right now, Palau is going through that same epidemic that we're facing. When I first started in 2019, I would get one request for analysis a month. I sometimes get 2 or 3 a month, and sometimes I get them like every 3 or 4 months from Palau. They're really going through a phase right now where they're being inundated with meth. And, you know, as they start to, or as they get run over by illicit drug, they're going to move on to other drugs. And so we talked about a little bit about that in the Guam Police Department, how we're now seeing fentanyl in our streets. We've had I think 4 related fentanyl deaths that we've confirmed. And we've had at least a couple of seizures of small amounts of fentanyl. But the fact that it's made it to our shores and into the homes of drug addicts is something that we need to be concerned. Crime prevention strategies. The most effective public safety initiatives don't come from behind the desk. They come from actively listening and responding to the community. Policing isn't something we can successfully achieve alone. It thrives on public participation and trust. When residents feel confident in law enforcement, our ability to prevent and address crime significantly improves. Our approach emphasizes genuine community engagement, listening closely to concerns and collaborating proactively with stakeholders like village leaders, civic groups, and local organizations. By prioritizing transparency and open communication, we have strengthened trust and built lasting relationships with the people we proudly serve. True crime prevention goes beyond traditional policing. It integrates community-driven strategies, stakeholder collaboration, and meaningful public engagement. We're adopting data-driven decision-making, leveraging crime analytics to strategically deploy resources exactly where they're needed most. Additionally, we actively support youth intervention initiatives, educational outreach efforts, and community-based partnerships, all essential to proactively preventing crime before it occurs. What does that mean, Chief? Well, guess who's in the schools now? School resource officers, right? You probably heard, oh, they have school resource officers from probation, or they have school resource officers from the Guam Police Department. But the Guam Department of Education reached out and says, we need a more proactive approach to keeping our students safe. And so we partnered with them to put school resource officers, or SROs, back in the schools. Big difference from the other SRO program is now these officers are armed and they have different use of force tools available to them. Tasers, batons, guns, chemical mace, spray, pepper spray. They have all that. They have bulletproof vests. They're all ready to protect themselves, but more importantly, protect the community. And so, I was asked, Chief, why do you want guns in the school? And they said, you know what? My primary purpose of putting a school resource officer in the school, it's not so that we can get involved with discipline and this kid slapped that kid, or this kid was caught vaping and he got cigarettes and he's got a dab pen. That's part of what we do. That's law enforcement. That's what we get involved in. But what really keeps me up at night is active shooter. Throughout the United States, throughout the nation, there are a lot of school-based and especially high school-based active shooter situations. Parents don't wake up in the morning to send their kids to school to get killed. Kids don't go to school so that they can get killed. School should be a safe learning environment. And that's why I support the school resource officer program. That's why I have SROs in the school. And that's just one piece of the pie of our community-driven policing strategies. We have everything from Project Deal. We have a summer camp and a winter camp. Okay? We go out, we teach kids, especially kids that can benefit from mentorship. We put it into a 4-week program in the summer, a 2-week program in the winter. I know you're Chief, it doesn't snow in Guam. Let's talk about winter anymore. But really, there's that winter break, right? The 2 weeks off. We take the time to engage with the kids. We put them, to a project. How many of you have been to our kickball tournament? at the Guam soccer field. Oh, man, you guys should come out. We are in our 6th year of the kickball tournament with all of the public elementary schools. All the 5th graders get to come out every December and they compete. It's a competition to win a trophy. But really, the more important thing that we're there for is to teach lessons, right? To be respectful, listen to your parents, stay off drugs. One of the other programs that we recently brought back just last year is DARE, Drug Alcohol Resistance Education. And Sergeant Paul, and you guys probably know it because he used to be our PIO, he's mentored over 500 kids in the past year and a half since we revived our DARE curriculum. So we have a lot of community engagement. We have neighbor watch programs. How many of you remember your neighbor watch group? One gentleman right there. Very good. Thank you for being involved in your community. Yeah, neighbor watch groups are great. They help solve crimes and they help keep communities safe. Find out if there's a neighbor watch group in your community. Get involved, stay involved, and be a part of the solution. Okay? Get involved with their community watch group. Very powerful approach. Soon, this year in August, we've been in conversation with Principal Sophia Duenas, right? I think that's her last name. Tees and I. We've been talking about it. We finally put pen to paper to syllabus, and we're working on getting the syllabus and the 3-year program adopted by the Guam Educational Board. We're going to have like this ROTC-like program, but strictly for law enforcement. We're going to be in the high school at Tizen running a pilot program in August of this year. It's going to be a 3-year program so that you can get high school credit and you can be on the track to go join a law enforcement agency in Guam. Hopefully it's the Guam Police Department, please. Balancing life and career. Oh, I get that a lot. How do you do it? I don't know. Just wake up every morning and go to work. One of the hardest yet most valuable lessons I've learned as chief is that true leadership goes far beyond professional accomplishments. It's rooted deeply in balance. It's easy to become completely immersed in our duties, letting ambition overshadow other parts of our lives. But I've discovered that our personal well-being, our families, our faith, and our friendships deserve equal priority. These are the foundations that support us, keeping us grounded and energized. Ambition is important. Where are you going to go? What you're going to do in life? How far you're going to be? What rank you want to be in the Guam Police Department? But so is knowing when to pause, step back, and nourish the parts of life that give it meaning. When we align our ambitions with our core personal values, we not only foster our own wellness, but also become strong for our own happiness, for sustained success, and to serve as genuine role models for those we lead. Speaking of wellness, right? Always think of wellness in the physical sense. When you run, you do push-ups. But sometimes what we forget is this kind of wellness. Mental health wellness. And back in 2019, there was something going on in New York Police Department. Something scary going on. They had, I believe, about 5 police officers in the NYPD that committed suicide. Throughout the nation, officers are starting to commit suicide at a higher rate. The Department of Justice recognized that, man, there's a problem going on in the law enforcement community. What's with all the suicides? So they developed something called the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act. And it provides funding to police departments, sheriffs, to start mental health wellness programs. So we developed it using best practices and models throughout the nation. We have a peer support group. So we use them to come in and talk to our officers when they're exposed to a critical incident. What does that mean, Sheila? Well, 2 years ago, there was a man who was beheaded down in San Marino. The suspect cut his head off. Sorry that I have to tell you these stories. You know, this is the reality of policing. This is what we do. This is real. The officer had to respond, and the suspect had cut the victim's head off, took the head and buried it somewhere up north. He left the body in a wheelchair at the crime scene. Now imagine being a police officer and a firefighter responding to that scene. How do you cope with that? How do you live with it? How do you just wake up the next day and go back to work again? How do you go home and tell your wife, your kids, hey, Dad, how was work today? How do you describe that? Right? How do you deal with that? And so we wanted to make sure that our officers don't internalize that. They can't carry that burden of seeing a dead body. We wanted to make sure we provide an outlet. So we have peer support groups. So we brought in the peer support group to talk to the officers and the firefighters, understanding that they were there as well. Those that required an extra step and an extra level of care were sent to Guam Behavioral Health, to psychologists and licensed clinical social workers. Because we care. As much as the physical sense is important, the mental health is important. No, I'm by no means a motivational speaker, but I did this about a month ago in my command staff meeting. And I told you we're going to circle back to your cell phone as we talk about what's important to us. Where's your cell phone? Take out your cell phone. You left it? Okay. Sorry. But take out your cell phone if you have it, right? Go to your camera roll. Start to scroll through your camera roll. What do you see? What's on your camera roll? What kind of pictures do you have? You know why I do that? Because I think your camera roll is a reflection of what you may at times, or sometimes, what we always emphasize. Right? Do you emphasize family? Do you have pictures of your family on your camera? When's the last time you took a picture of your mom's sister, your mom's brother, your auntie, your uncle, your nieces, your nephew? But I bet you there's a lot of pictures about work, about school, right? It's a lot of pictures. Oh man, you know, we love to take a picture of. Fool. I don't know how many times I've seen this stuff out. I couldn't pick up. But why do we take pictures of food? Why do we take pictures about things at work? Why do we take pictures? Why don't we take more pictures of our family? When's the last time? Oh my God. Back in the 70s, my mom and dad, every year they used to have that company. Right after Jackie. And you had to wear the same Hawaiian print. And they took the family photo. And it hangs properly for everybody to see as soon as they walk into your front door. I have a picture from like 1974 in a very bright Hawaiian print, and we're all matching. Me and my two sisters and my mom and dad. And I can't live that down. But really, we always have this. We always carry it. We always take it out. We always take pictures. But your camera roll kind of tells you where your emphasis is at and what you think is important. So I ask you, take a picture of your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife. Make sure that that's important to you, okay? Because they matter. And I told my staff members this, I said, one of the things I have to do as the chief of police is attend funerals, sometimes burials, for officers who have served and passed away. And I'll tell you, when I stand at the gravesite and I'm there to hand the flag, the Guam flag over to the family, the only people that I see at the gravesite are family. All those officers that they thought was their party, their best friend, they always want to hang out, drink beer, they're not there. Your family is, your first cousins, your mom, your dad, your kids. They're all there at the gravesite, not the officers. We go there out of duty and respect. But at the gravesite, the people that matter the most, the people who are at your side when you're sick and dying, are your family. Take more pictures. Future initiatives and vision. Looking ahead, we must continue evolving to meet the changing demands of modern policing. One of our top priorities, again, is securing legislative support for a new precinct in Jigo. This will greatly improve our response times and allow us to better serve the expanding needs of our community. Training also remains essential. We're dedicated to preparing officers for emerging threats like cybercrime and organized crime through specialized and ongoing training programs. Embracing technology is crucial. We're focusing on data-driven policing and crime mapping techniques. These strategies will help us proactively address crime, enhance efficiency, and most importantly, strengthen community trust and safety. One of the biggest initiatives that we're pushing right now is our DNA lab. And our criminalist left yesterday, and he's going to Australia, Federal Police lab in 3 months or 4 months. If all goes well and he's able to successfully complete the program, Guam will have its first criminalist trained to conduct DNA analysis. Our lab is ready to go. I just got an update last week from our personnel. The lab passed its testing. We're ready to apply for full occupancy, and we should be able to hit the ground running. Okay. Come join the Guam Police Department. The Guam Police Department is looking for individuals who are ready to make a difference. We are currently accepting applications for the 16th Police Officer Cycle. Whether you're considering a career as a police officer or working in a civilian role, now is the time to take that step. This is more than a job. It is a commitment to service, excellence, and protecting our island. And it's one of the most noble professions there is, being a police officer. In closing, leadership is fundamentally about action, not position or title. As future leaders in public administration and criminal justice, you hold the responsibility to enact positive change, uphold justice, and to serve the community ethically. I encourage each of you to commit to public service and contribute positively to Guam's future. Thank you all for your time today, and really it is my honor to be your keynote speaker for the Justice Panel. I am truly honored to be here in front of all of you today. Zoom sponsor.
Thank you, Chief Ignacio. As we move forward, we're excited to introduce our second panel discussion of the day. But before I do, I just wanted to do a little reminder that we have our classmates who will be walking down the aisle with index cards and pens. If you have any questions, please just write them down and you'll get to Q&As shortly. Anyways, this session will focus on justice, the enforcement laws that uphold social order and ensure that individuals who violate the law are held accountable for their actions from an administrative perspective. We are joined today by an esteemed panel of experts, each with a wealth of experience in public administration, policymaking, and government leadership. I'd like to introduce our panelists, starting with Sofia Santos Diaz, Deputy Administrator of the Courts Judiciary of Guam. Stephen Ignacio, Chief of Police, Guam Police Department. Fred Vidalio, Director of Guam Department of Corrections. Stephen Hattori, Executive Director for the Guam Public Defender Service Corporation. And he is also joined by Carol Minko Sanchez. Last but not the least, Jacqueline Salahi, President of the Guam Bar Association. This session will be moderated by Harley and Xanthus and I, and we encourage all of you to actively engage, whether you're joining in via questions, thoughts, or sharing experiences of your own. So without further delay, I'll hand it over to Harley and Xanthus to start the panel discussion.
All today panelists, we would like to hear your thoughts and ideas about what justice means to you and how your agency continues to uphold and sustain justice for our island. You can start with Chief Ignacio. Would you like to begin? Sure.
Yeah, so, the Guam Police Department, we're a law enforcement agency. So we're really that first step in the whole justice system. I keep Director Bernaldi very busy. We make arrests and put people in jail, but really that's the fundamental duty of the Guam Police Department. But justice goes beyond just making arrests. It's making sure that people are treated fairly and equitably, and that we're enforcing the laws the way that they're meant to be enforced. And we're not, interestingly enough, I'm going to be speaking with some off-island people regarding disparity in incarcerations. I think there's a discussion coming up next week about how some minorities have a higher representation in incarceration, both in the juvenile and the adult setting. Yeah, so people get concerned when there's sometimes an overrepresentation of certain ethnic races or nationalities in the setting. So that's the job of the police, law enforcement, and that's what we do best.
Okay, thank you, great question. Once again, I'm Steve Vittori. I'm the current executive director for the Public Defender Service Corporation. And for those of you who don't know, the Public Defender Service Corporation is a government corporation, and we're tasked with two duties. One is to represent indigents, that's people who financially qualify, who need an attorney when they're facing criminal prosecution, like they've been charged with a crime and they're facing jail time, and they can't afford a lawyer, then we are appointed to represent them. I'm also here with Carol Hinckley Sanchez, who's head of our Civil Law Center, and that's the other half of our office. We've also been tasked with representing indigents in civil representation in legal matters as well. And that also affects, the criminal justice system, as you'll learn hopefully in the next hour. But what justice really means to me is this, everyone up here has taken an oath, right, to uphold the Constitution. We've all taken an oath to uphold the Organic Act of Guam, as well as the laws of Guam, right? And so as a public defender, my job is to ensure that every client, and really every client is someone's, it's kind of cliche, but father or mother, brother or sister, son or daughter, right? I mean, you would be surprised, but every client that we have has someone, almost every client has someone who loves them, right? And who's counting on them and who's praying that they get a fair sentence or a fair punishment. And so that's our job. Our job is to help these individuals get a fair punishment. And 98% of our clients accept responsibility, and it's about getting a fair sentence. And our job is to make sure they get a fair sentence. Some of them are innocent and they want to willingly plead guilty, accept responsibility, and want to do their time. And our role in this is to ensure that they get a fair sentence and a level playing field, and that's our role in the justice system. And we're partners along with them. I'm a public defender. I hate crime just as much as Chief Ignacio hates crime. Everybody up here hates crime. But we do understand our clients need help, and we're here to provide them that help, address the situation that got them here, and hopefully help them not repeat the same mistake again. Thank you.
My name is Carol Hinckley Sanchez. As you mentioned, I'm the managing attorney at the Civil Law Center. Our office represents those civil indigent clients and their civil needs. What justice means to me is very clear. Similar to what Steve said, is ensuring that we afford them every right they have under the laws and the constitutions and their local laws. whether they're being charged with a crime or whether their basic human rights are being infringed upon or taken away. Our job is to allow them and afford them that opportunity, so that they can have their equal access to justice.
Hello, okay, I'm Fred Alley Jr. again, Director of Corrections, and also a former Chief of Police for the Guam Police Department. I retired from the department after 29 years. You know, I passed out some a letter from President Joe Biden in response to a concern I made for him, and it's related to justice, because there was a particular senator in the Guam legislature who introduced caning legislation. First time in a long time, anything that had to do with using and what I described as my testimony, state violence, the promotion of state violence in the form of, and then it was even described in the legislature. He said that was restorative justice. Believe me, that's not restorative justice. You as a class at the University of Guam are going to do research. When you define the term restorative justice, look it up. You're going to define the term of justice, look it up, because it's very important to get it completely right. Department of Corrections, what would be an injustice if someone was confined for over 2 years in pre-trial while having to face their time in court, and then all of a sudden was innocent? Someone else approached and said they were the one who did the crime. Can you imagine that? How do you make up for that? For incarcerating someone who was wrongly accused of a crime. Nelson R. Mandela indicated that it is said that no one truly knows a nation until one has been inside its jails. A nation should not be judged by how it treats its highest citizens, but its lowest ones. And when I was invited here, and I thank again Ron Egan and all the class here, the administrative and all classes at the University of Guam, when I was invited here to provide my views on the topic of justice, especially in the correctional system. I thought it was really fitting because it's in the news about our overcrowding situation. Over 500 of our inmates over there at the Department of Corrections are pre-trial detainees. Yes, Chief Ignacio's police department is giving me, and not just that, a lot of other local law enforcement organizations are giving me a lot of clients to incarcerate. We have more pre-trial inmates in the department presently in the Department of Corrections than the sentenced prisoners. That's not something to be proud of. And we rely on the partnership of not only the Guam Police Department, but the Office of the Attorney General, the Office of the Public Defender, the courts of Guam that are here represented here, because we're all part of this system of justice, criminal justice system. And also that affects the current present correctional system, which each and every one of you, I hope, can participate in, because we do have openings in the Department of Corrections, both not only in our corrections officers, but our parole officers too, that enforce parole conditions, which is important, because if you have a bathtub that's filling up with water, you have to have some sort of drain over or overflow. And that's what a parole system and community supervision, which our parole officers have that serious mission to do. The question about the future of Guam's correctional system with justice in mind, since justice in my mind means being fair. Incarceration or confinement with a loss of freedom is the most severest punishment in the context of Guam's justice within the correctional system of island today. But the question about the future of Guam's correctional system arguably evolves on the basis of what current correctional system Guam has, and it's linked to predominant perspective of justice. The present correctional system that Guam has is reflective of the United States correctional system and justice process. And if you really look at it, majority of people are on probation or on parole. Less of them are being incarcerated. But Guam has a high incarceration rate. And Guam's current correction system operates in the foundation of American American principles of criminal justice, where fairness, equitable, and human treatment of inmates, both adjudicated and or pretrial, are adopted through policy and law. Believe me as I say this, as we have an overcrowding situation, the greatest number of pretrial inmates are waiting for the court dates. If they, and some of the questions, and then that's been posed by the Attorney General to the Guam legislature, can we extend that from 48 to 72 hours of confining them? This is a question each and every one of you as students at the University of Guam, as community members. When do we give the government time, for them to say it's time to prosecute this, and it's time to say you haven't had a case to prosecute them and charge them, release them back out to the community. That's a policy measure too. I hope each and every one of you think about it, because with me, if we have an inmate pre-trial who's been there already 2 years, something is wrong with our correctional system. And if you can't get them charged in 48 hours, something is wrong with that too. And that raises constitutional issues. According to Kopp and Bales, despite the similarities in social consequences and economic burden of jail and prison incarceration, jails differ from prisons. And just think of it, the Department of Corrections prison, we have over 300 of those pretrial inmates in Manila. We have a segregation problem, and they disrupt the rehabilitation programs when we have that. In other jurisdictions, it's the sheriffs and police that have the jails. They're separated. And so the thing is we need to rethink this about how we can have those pretrial detainees that are currently housed in Manila away from the sentence prisoners. One particular proposal that I hope that each and every one of you can possibly research and possibly explore is the possibility that the next time there's an expansion of the court process, court capital projects and building the courts, to have that detention facility built within walking distance to the court. So when they look outside the window, the justices, they'll see the pretrial detainees right there. And we might as well add that maybe the Attorney General's office could be built right next to that facility too. So they're reminded that when they look outside the window too, they can see the pretrial detainees right there. And believe me, I don't think individuals, pretrial inmates, if that was the case, they're all within the same facility, wouldn't be released 2 years from now, but there'll be more attention on when they're supposedly should be released, but it should be really honored there. That's really what justice is, in my mind, being fair and really following what the Constitution is and stuff and all that, what the intent is of that. At the Department of Corrections, we have one goal. We have several goals. Establish a clear span and control of authority. That's one, but the most important is that the inmates incarcerated at the Department of Corrections will be secured and safe from threats or harm, confined in facilities that have suitable conditions for space and a healthy environment, and providing opportunities for programs that involve rehabilitation activities. That basic goal we have is really tailored toward our sentenced prisoners. In the military correctional system where I worked at, we had a pre-trial, and then once they're court-martialed, we send them to Kansas and the prison. So again, it's that distance, keeping them separated and segregated, which is really a principle, which is really what is the mandate. So we hope that each and every one of you as students can support the work that we're trying to do. In our strategic plan, you can find it in our website, Department of Corrections, and you will see our vision statement, our values, that Guam's correction system that evolves will meet with success, given the commitment and dedication of all the field of corrections and our criminal justice system, adopting these values with the achievement of our vision. That values is, and it's really known, it's even practiced here among students, honesty, integrity, and courage, because that's what is really needed to get us through the challenge we face in this century and forward. Thank you.
Hafe. My name is Jacqueline Taitano Tervahi. I am the president of the Guam Bar Association, which is made up of all licensed attorneys, whether or not we're criminal, civil. If you are a licensed attorney here on Guam, then you are a member of our association. Our job as a lawyer is to be your friend. Haha, not really. Sorry, guys. But everyone wants to be our friend. Why? Because we're the advocate in every role that's played in the justice system. Whether or not it's with Fred, because he's dealing with prisoners, there's an attorney involved, right? Whether or not it's the police department and someone is being arrested, there's an attorney involved. Whether or not it's the judicial system, right, where the judicial system is administering court proceedings, there are many attorneys involved. And so the attorneys play a very important role in society. We help people navigate through private disputes, not just criminal disputes. Today, when we talk about justice, many times people think that justice is limited to crimes and to wrongdoings involving criminal acts, but it's not. Justice involves the fundamental right of not only the person, but it's the dignity of a people. And so it involves many aspects, and that's why it requires us to know one another. I'm required as the bar president to work with the judiciary. I'm required to work with DOC. I'm required to work with GPD. I'm required to work with other attorneys. And so justice requires us not only to be the voice of others, but it requires us also to respect a rule of law, meaning that every person should have an advocate arguing for their interests, right? And so in a private proceeding, right, where Carroll is now the Civil Law Center, where people don't have funds and they're involved in a private proceeding and they qualify for services, then she can get involved. Steve at the Criminal Defense, the Public Defender Service Corporation, gets appointed if you don't have an attorney in a criminal proceeding. So at every level that there is always an effort to ensure that you have representation, right? Sometimes it's provided for by public funds, but in many instances it's not. And so the question that is always asked of us is, well, then is that justice if the guy at the other end of the table has more money than I do, right? Well, then the question we always ask is, well, is it justice then that you committed a wrong against the person if that's what the issue is? So the feelings about justice and the ideas about justice can change. But the fundamental principle behind justice for all of us who are involved in the justice system is the fundamental rights.
My name is Sophia Sanchez Diaz, and I work for the judiciary. I work as the deputy administrator, and while I am a lawyer, I am not currently practicing law. My function now is really managing operations for the judiciary as a branch. And, you know, the call of the question today is, what does justice mean to you? And I think for me, in the role that I work in now, what it means is, I'm going to echo a little bit of what Jackie said, basic human dignity. In my current capacity, I've had the opportunity to speak to new employees as they onboard the judiciary. And one of the things that I remind them is that the courthouse, for the vast majority of people who walk into it, is not a very happy place. Because when you think about what's happening in the court, it is trying to resolve disputes or trying to defend yourself against a criminal allegation or prosecute a criminal action that you couldn't figure out, you couldn't resolve the dispute on your own. For some reason, you needed to have somebody else intercede and make the decision for you. So for most people, this is not a very happy day, right? For most people, unless you're coming to get married or you're getting an adoption finalized, I think some people are very happy to get their divorces finalized. But, you know, for most people, it's not a very happy occasion to be in the courthouse. So what I remind people is, you know, the person you're dealing with, you might have a horrible day, employee, but remember that, you know, the person you're dealing with, you don't know what's going on with them. And all it really takes is, you know, smiling at them, being kind with the way you deliver your message. I'm sorry, sir, I can't help you with that at this window, but I can direct you over here. I tell marshals, I see a marshal in this room right now. I tell marshals who work at the Post 1 Alpha, which is, you know, the entrance to the main courthouse in Agana, it doesn't take much just to smile. All that, for most people, that's all you really need. So for me, I think that, you know, justice means treating people with basic human dignity. And I think that, you know, don't quote me on this, but my understanding is there are studies out there that for, even in instances where, you know, you don't get the resolution that you wanted, if you felt like you were treated with dignity and respect during the process, then you're more willing to accept the outcome of the decision, even if it's not in your favor. So I think for us, at the judiciary, you know, that is the function. Deliver effective and efficient justice independently, neutrally, with fair and even-mindedness, and treating people with dignity and respect.
Thank you, panelists. At this time, we received a bunch of questions from the audience members, and we're hoping to get your insight on some of these questions. So the first question is for President of the Guam Bar Association, Ms. Jack. As a practicum of administrative law, what are your thoughts on the administrative justice system?
Wow, that's a really broad question there. Administrative law. I know that many of you here are public administration majors, right? And so you should know basics, that there are rules and regulations that govern certain processes in the government, right? And so the thing is, there's this huge case that just happened, and we were just talking about this, right? That a year ago, we would be able to say that administrative bodies should be given deference, right? Absolute deference, right? We don't even know where some of these administrative bodies come. So when we talk about bridging policy and law, in many instances, there are administrative bodies that exist that don't really have certain skills in that area, right? Someone is appointed, and really a lot of the problem is that we give certain laws, so statutory provisions that are granted by our legislature, that govern our administrative laws. And so where the law says you can appoint your friend, okay, there's no law that says that, okay, that just so you know, okay, but if there was a law that says Jackie could appoint her friend Lisa to serve on the artificial intelligence board that determines whether or not AI is good or not good, right? Well, my friend Lisa, she doesn't have any experience in AI. She's, she's a professor of history, right? Zero experience. Well, but the law gave her the right to sit on the board, right? And so now we have this Chevron case that our Supreme Court of the United States said that the court system, right? And this is where we look at the totality of the system. And this is where the Supreme Court of the United States says that no longer can courts give absolute deference to these boards, to these administrative boards. It must interpret the law because that is the role of the judiciary. And so this has now created kind of an upheaval in the administrative law scene. So you're going to start seeing, I think, well, hopefully here in Guam, we'll start seeing more challenges to the administrative law side. But at the end of the day, right, what Sophia was saying about the justice system is you get there as a last resort. We don't want every case coming up to the justice system. The hope is that the justice system has in place, even in the administrative stages, a way to resolve issues. And 95 to 98% of all cases should be resolved at the administrative level. They should not be going to court. And so when we look overall at the perspective of administrative law today, Guam has a lot of administrative bodies. So I'm going to be a fortune teller and tell you that I think there's going to be a lot of challenges in Guam's future.
Can I just elaborate? So that's on a macro level. So public defenders, we're more on a micro level, right? How it impacts individual users of the administrative law system, right? Like, for example, if you're denied a borough benefit, if you're kicked off the SNAP rolls, many of our individuals do not know how to appeal it, and then they go before a hearing officer who might not necessarily know the law, right? So we've had cases recently where we've had to have a borough denial reversed because the hearing officer was applying the wrong burden of proof. And so after we explained to them the law, they reversed it, and fortunately our client was able to get their borough eligibility back. It also affects SNAP eligibility. People are getting kicked off of SNAP. They don't know that they can appeal it. And now that, we have the Civil Law Center, that's one of the things that they're going to be working on is helping prevent homelessness and food insecurity by fighting people who've been denied benefits like SNAP and borough section 8. So, on the macro level, that's Jackie's arena, but on the micro level, the little lawyers, like the public defenders and the civil law centers, help individual citizens maintain the benefits that they need to survive and, feed their family. Thank you.
Thank you. She also wanted to add to that. So as she mentioned, she does oversee the attorneys as the Guam Bar president. And so I want to chime into what she just mentioned. Basically, well, she manages us, but she can tell us what to do too on commissions and committees. And that's where I was getting at it. She put me on a committee that to handle civil indigent and legal aid services. And one of the things that I'm looking at building as a program, and I'm working with the University of Guam right now with their social work. I'm also planning to engage with their public administration and their criminal justice to build programs. And one of the programs that I'm looking at is an alternative resolution program that's going to allow them at the earliest stage to divert out of having to file, trying to resolve that matter through an actual alternative dispute resolution that's going to not have to go to court. So that's what we're looking at building, and that's just part of reform that I'm still researching. And so if any of you guys have anything you need to write for your class, just give me a call because I got work for you to do. That will help me so that we can work together and I don't have to work that hard. You would help me a lot because there's things that we're just building. The Civil Law Center, where it's been a creature for almost 50 years, but we do want to reform it to meet the needs of our community, to meet the needs of the low-income indigents that are on the island. And so that's one of the things we're looking at to help the Guam Bar.
Thank you. The next question is for Director Bardallo for DOC. What's the status of the new prison with what you said that there's over population in the DOC?
You said the population, the question is?
Yes, what's the status of the new prison regarding overpopulating?
Well, what has happened right now is because on the 2021 Modernization Act, there was supposed to be funding $5 million deposit annually every fiscal year for the brand new prison, and that would cost up to about $180 to $200 million. We didn't even have enough money for the architectural design, which was $16 million, and that we were through some negotiations, and that has already been terminated. So we're back to square one when it comes to a new prison. But the most important thing of this is in the planning of a new prison, as I had said, part of the new prison and how it will be constructed in Manila, there was nothing addressed to what would happen to the Hagaya detention facility, which is built since 1998. And the Hagaya restoration plan indicates that Hagaya detention facility shouldn't be there anymore. So there's the question now, what do we do with the 500 pretrial detainees right now? We're going to be building or constructing any kind of facility, right? in the jurisdictions in the states, you have jails and detention facilities. In the military, you have correction facilities and detention facilities for pretrial military prisoners. But once they're sentenced, they go to Kansas. In the states, once they're sentenced, they go out of those jails to their state prison. In Guam, we need that same kind of concept, and that's what I've been arguing. That we can't keeping pretrial detainees, about 300 in dome tents in Manila. We need to do something better than that and have a facility built. And if we're going to do that, we will partner up with the judiciary and have that maybe 350 to 400 capacity detention facility built right next to where the court properties are at. And I think that would be a better situation in the States. I've actually heard some individuals indicate that the sheriff's jail is just within walking distance to the court. And then that way we don't have to be transporting 60 to 80 daily, morning and afternoon, and the cost of transportation. There'll be a lot of stuff that would be resolved with that. Thank you.
And so that's where lawyers become involved again, right? So unfortunately for Fred, what's probably needed is for a prisoner to hire a lawyer to sue him in order to get a new facility, right? Or a detainee who is harmed in one of the detention facilities and harmed by somebody who has been incarcerated, right? So unfortunately, that's the way our system provides for some relief, is through litigation.
And I just want to add, that over 80% of our inmates have a drug problem. It was mentioned earlier here during this forum that what do you do when you have such a high number of inmates that are addicted? Now we have an RSAT program, residential substance abuse treatment program in the prison. But a prison isn't a place for drug rehabilitation. You want a place to have drug rehabilitation would be somewhere like the Lighthouse Recovery place that's over in Tejan. They just even opened up one for women's, and that's been a good achievement. What I would argue, and this would be to research and explore, is can you expand drug treatment facilities like that in the north and in the south of our island, besides just Tejan? If you expand that out, because tackling our drug problem isn't just based on enforcement, putting them all in jail and finding them. And isn't also about education, about going to the schools and preaching how bad drugs are, but it also calls for treatment. And that's where I believe, and I would argue we're falling on our shortfalls. You can't, this waiting list for the Lighthouse Recovery is very long. And that's already just a sign that possibly Guam can build 2 more drug treatment facilities to have clients. We could probably transfer the custody of some of these inmates to that place where it would be staffed, secured, and I think we'll see light at the end of the day and a better success in terms of the drug problem that we have in our island. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is for Deputy Sophie. So does the court have other pro se programs besides small claims, and if you can expand upon them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Or other, what types of programs?
Pro se programs.
Oh, other pro se programs. So, okay, so, one of the things, I know that both GPD and DOC have made a pitch now for people to come work for them. And I'm gonna go ahead and make a pitch for people to come work as an attorney. Because Guam is in dire need of lawyers. I'm just gonna tell you that right straight up, we're in dire need of lawyers. We're in dire need of a lot of things. A lot of professional jobs need folks to fill in the ranks. So if anybody out there is interested in going to law school, I realize that it's not necessarily an easy proposition. But the Guam Bar president has said you can talk to her. So the reality is, because we have a shortage of attorneys, there are a lot of folks who are coming to court in a pro se capacity. And they come in small claims, they come on traffic violations, they come on littering citations, they come in regular civil cases, in fact. They come seeking guardianship, they come even seeking protective orders. So one of the every few years, the judiciary develops a strategic plan that is formulated to try to address some of our most critical needs. And we recognize that our current need of kiosks at the main courthouse that are accessible for individuals to utilize. There are forms available. We recognize that not all the forms, there's a lot of processes that don't have forms that are available, but we are actively working on them. And we are trying to utilize technology to develop applications that will assist people in filing what they need to file. It's a difficult task for, the courthouse is full of lawyers, but the vast majority of the folks that you will encounter when you come to the courthouse are not attorneys. So the counter staff, right? Those are not attorneys. So they are not in a position to be able to offer legal advice. They can offer legal information, and they do that the best they can by directing people to available forms and applications, and they use the Guam Bar Directory a lot to, and also, in general, for public access purposes, the guamcourts.org website has forms available for a lot of the pro se filings that we have developed forms for, and we are actively working towards developing more.
So also, Civil Law Center is also going to be working along the same lines with the committee that I'm under to develop a pro se litigant bank as well. Because, as you know, there was a moratorium in place with our division. We were just handling protective orders and some other stuff like war claims. But prior to that, like I said, we've been in existence for 50 years with public defenders. We're actually public defenders, but we separated ourselves because of conflict issues to ensure that we had the ability to represent our clients that are victims and not have that conflict established with the public defenders or alternate public defenders. But we plan to do a pro se litigant form bank and have stations at our office as well, because it's really hard when they come in and they need a divorce and they can't get GORA because they're married, but they haven't been living with a person for 10 years and don't even know where the person's at. And I can't help them because it's something that we don't service. And if I refer them out to the there are two other legal aid offices on the island that provide legal services to indigents, which is Guam Legal Services and Micronesian Legal Services, but their services are limited based on their grants. And their services are going to be limited based on the resources, similar to us. We're going to limit what we can do, but we're also going to expand in the areas that will be able to assist those that we can help, which is the pro se form.
Thank you. The question is actually for you still. The question regards is civil indigent defense a constitutional right or a statutory mandate?
So I'm going to let him answer first because it started off with the criminal side in the Gideon ruling. So maybe he should answer it, and then I can tell you why I think it is.
So actually, we have the Constitution, right, and then we also have the Organic Act. So the certain civil legal matters you have a constitutional right to, right? Like when it involves your children, like if they're trying to take your kids away, you have a constitutional right to an attorney. In fact, that right here of Guam is, if you're a billionaire, the court will give you an attorney to represent you in a PINS case. And so when Guam was really forward thinking when we created the Public Defender Service Corporation in 1975, if most public defenders across the country, they only do criminal, right? It's just a base level, your minimum level of rights that they're protecting out there, right? But the Guam legislature said we're gonna, one up you. And so they required us to represent indigents in civil matters as well. And so we were doing that up until about 2003 when we imposed a moratorium. And we've had a partial moratorium since then. We're eventually gonna get it completely lifted. But let me tell you the significance of that, how important it is for us to be able to do that. So like historically, we've been able to prevent people from getting kicked off from getting kicked off SNAP. We've also been able to help people get divorces, resolving domestic disputes without it resorting to violence, right? And so, trust me, in a domestic case, you want the defendant who's losing custody of their children to be represented by an attorney because that's the most dangerous, really hot point in any domestic cases. If there's a fight for the kids, there's a father who leaves the courthouse unrepresented by an attorney who thinks that he's never going to see his kids again. That person is a ticking time bomb. And if that person has an attorney helping them, bringing them in and explaining to them, this is what we need to do to make sure you can see your kids again, then there isn't going to be an incident where an attorney gets shot and killed by a father who leaves a courthouse thinking they're never going to see their kid again. And so there's been a lot of violence against attorneys over the years, and a lot of it's been committed by unrepresented defendants. And so historically, our office has been able to kind of like lift the steam off the tea kettle, and by giving our clients hope, right, and helping them reestablish their connection with kids or iron out those kind of sticky issues. And so like, but it was pretty bad. Like in 2003, we opened over 200 domestic cases. We imposed a moratorium, and then the following year, we dropped to like 50. And so we understand that we can't help everybody, but I think once we lift the moratorium, you know, the courts have been helping us identify particular cases that they're getting, and they see that there's conflict, then we'll get appointed to represent the defendant oftentimes in a protective order type case to get those, because we already represent them in the criminal matter. But in sometimes straight out divorces with custody kids, judges have ordered our office to represent an adverse just to help resolve it in a peaceful, crime-free manner. And so that's basically why it may not be a constitutional right, but it's a matter of human dignity, and it's a matter of reducing crime and keeping peace. I think it's money well spent supporting the civil resolution of otherwise very hostile and dangerous situations.
Can I just add anything? Okay, it's not a fair question, I say, because Steve knows that I'm on the board of trustees for the Public Defender Service Corp. And I was also part of the board that continued the moratorium over the Civil Law Center. But I'm also a trustee who supported the lift of the moratorium in certain contexts. I think it has to be absolutely clear that we all believe in justice. We all believe in fundamental rights. I think where we depart in our beliefs is that I do not believe that every person should have free attorney services. That is the difference, right? So certain kinds of cases, like what we've done with the Civil Law Center for purposes of people who cannot afford certain services, that they do get free legal services in the civil and criminal context. But that should not be construed as a completely widespread belief that we all believe that in every civil context, there should be free legal services. I gotta keep my attorney employed, guys, okay? They need jobs.
And I'm not trying to take that money. So I wanted to support what Jackie both of them said, because the reality is, if you're gonna ask whether it's a civil right, yes, for some matters, it is a right. There have been Supreme Court cases that have already made the determination in involuntary commitment proceedings of those that are places on mental health facilities that they have the right to an attorney. And so do parents before a court where it's a child abuse protective case and their rights are going to be terminated because it infringes upon their basic human right. Their right to be a parent, their right to custody their children, the right for those involuntaries, their right to freedom because they're restricted in the facility, pretty much like jail, right? So there are civil indigent rights that have been established through the U.S. Supreme Court cases, but going back when Gideon Wainwright was decided in '83, it was decided under a criminal matter. It was decided to ensure that criminal defendants that were before a system that could not afford an attorney were given a government locally funded attorney to represent them and ensure that they have rights. That movement, our leaders in 1975 were ahead, way ahead of everything. They were intelligent, they were ahead. They made the Public Defender Service Act of 1975, ensuring that the rights of both criminal and civil indigents were protected. And that's because if you think about it, the war just ended. That's the period of time that the war ended. Their people have suffered many disparities and equities through a lot of things. And I think they were just trying to protect the people of Guam. And so that's why they ensured these protections were placed into the statute. We're limited, we're also given legal work through mandates of the legislatures, like the Guam War claims, like representing family violence victims. Those are legislative mandates that are added on to what's constitutionally required under law. But as Jackie mentioned, I don't want to take her clients away. I only want to assist those civil indigent individuals whose basic human rights are now being affected, whether it's through policies, whether it's because some law is violated, whether it's because they can't get a divorce and it affects their ability to get a home. That's the job I feel I need to do under the civil indigent. And that movement through Gideon was pushed in 2006 by our American Bar Association, because really you look at the United States Supreme Court and you see on it justice for all. Everybody deserves justice, including those that can't afford an attorney. And so that's really basically what our office wants to look at. We do want to limit the scope and the parameters of what we do to cases that affect the basic fundamental human rights of individuals.
So the last question is in regards to sustainability of your agencies. In particular, is there a way to have a low-cost law school on island, and why so many lawyers here seem to oppose it?
Oh, I think that's a question for me. A law school on island, a low-cost law school on island. I don't think the University of Guam is considered low-cost either. So I'm not quite sure what it means by a low-cost law school. What I am happy to tell you is that last year, the University of Guam, the University of Hawaii, and the Guam Bar Association announced a partnership that allows students who are living here in Guam to attend the University of Hawaii, utilizing the residence rate and utilizing their 4-year JD part-time program so that they can live and work in Guam while attending law school. So that's a very new partnership. And so we like to call it a pipeline for those here at the university who have a desire to go to law school. Now you can live and work in Guam. And that is a key feature, because something that we've discovered is that when, our parents were amazing. I think for all of us here at this table, we can all say that our parents were freaking amazing. Not only did they send us off to school off island, they provided us the support for that. And in the end, we all ended up professionals, right? Well, what we've discovered after 50 years of doing this with our island population is they're not coming back, which is a huge problem for every organization on the island, whether or not you're a surveyor. We have 4 left on the island, by the way, and her dad's one, I love him. But the thing is, dentists, doctors, lawyers, accountants, every field in Guam of profession is in a dire need. And the reason is because we have been sending our children off to school, and many of them decide that, going back to Guam is hard. It's a hardship, right? And so what we've discovered is if you're going to school here on Guam, then you have a desire to stay here, right? Not just from your economic circumstances from staying here, but that you have a true desire to remain here on Guam as a full-grown adult, and you want to work in our systems, right? Well, we discovered that, and we said, hey, what if we start integrating our law students into the legal communities before they enter into law school? So now we're encouraging every aspect of the legal system to start looking at their personnel to say, who would be a good law student? Let's put them through this part-time program. They work from 8 a.m. until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you start going to law school at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Hawaii time, right? And so you have the possibility of doing residency, okay? I think that that's amazing. Also, because the University of Hawaii is one of the rare programs in the United States that actually teaches about Guam. That Guam is different, that we're a territory, we're not a state. And we don't have the same constitutional rights as everybody else in the United States. And most people, most adults in Guam do not know that. And so if you are interested in this kind of program, by all means, come and chat with me afterwards. I'd be happy to give you more info.
Yeah, can I just add on that? I think, it's a genius idea, and there really is nothing you can't learn on Guam that, you learn in California or Hawaii. Right? And we learned from the pandemic, right, the value of online learning and the benefit of it, right? And I could see UOG creating a joint program with UH where they take some of the classes online and then certain classes are taught locally by, really, we have experts in the field, like Jackie would be a professor for several subjects, right? And then you could have a joint, UH, UOG law degree, and then we don't run the risk of our students going to Hawaii, falling in love with lunch plates, and never wanting to come back home to Guam, right? So, I think it's a genius idea, and you guys pulled off a college of engineering that is like incredibly successful. That's something nobody thought, like, who's gonna go engineering on Guam, right? But it's very successful, and you guys are the region leaders on engineering, right? You're attracting students from all the outer islands, right? And so it's kind of like, if we had one here, it's kind of soft diplomacy. We'll be teaching law school for basically the entire Western Pacific region, right? You could have students from Palau, from all the coastal states, and they could afford, coming to Guam rather than Hawaii. And I think it could be a very successful program, and God knows we could use more lawyers on Guam. So I hope that maybe Dr. Mitchell pursue that, or if he's not looking towards retirement already.
Hey. Don't want my job.
But definitely we have the capacity to teach classes. Could you imagine taking trial advocacy for David Lujan or Jay Ariola or Jackie? I think we can do it. So we just need someone with the energy to put it together. And, we can get, 10 attorneys a year from it, and the CNMI can get a couple, 5 times short attorneys. The whole region will benefit. So hopefully someone will pick up that torch and run with it.
Well, that's the hope. That's the next step, guys, right? So the first step is the pipeline, giving us residence rate, giving us the access, right? And then our hope is that the University of Guam will expand to actually teaching the courses here through the University of Guam, because I want the University of Guam to benefit from this relationship as well.
Thank you to our panelists. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to all the questions that were submitted by the audience for the sake of time. So in doing so, we will submit these questions to our panelists and in hopes that we'll get a response to them, and we'll publish the responses at a later time. Okay? Thank you to our panelists.
Thank you. Thank you once again to our speakers and panelists for such an enlightening session. Before we move on to the next part of our program, we will be taking a short break. This is a great opportunity for everyone to stretch your legs, grab your refreshment, and network with your fellow attendees. We'll reconvene in 15 minutes, so please be sure to return promptly for our next section, which will focus on sustainability. Enjoy your break, and we'll see you then.
This is Broadband Policy and Development Office.
Welcome back, everyone. I know I just gave Zach just gave an extension of 5 minutes, but we're just gonna go back into the program. I hope you had the chance to connect and recharge. Now let's continue with the last segment of our conference today. This last session will focus on sustainability, where we will explore our island's current institution and landscape and how agencies plan to respond to the developing world and provide a continued existence for our island and its people. Since this topic is broad and includes a diverse array of background, this segment will focus on island sustainability. And for today, we are joined by Regine Visco-Lee, President and CEO of Guam Visitors Bureau. Alex Severio, Office of Minority Health, Guam Department of Public Health and Social Services. Dr. Austin Shelton, Director for Center for Island Sustainability and UOG grant. Virtually, we have Glenn Hunter, Special Assistant, Broadband Policy and Development Office, CNMI Office of the Governor. We have Christine Farron, Forestry Division Chief, Guam Department of Agriculture. Fernando Esteves, Deputy Director for Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority, GURA. Miguel Bernalio, General Manager for Guam Waterworks Authority. So thank you very much, and I would like to take this opportunity to pass this to our moderator, Dantes, who will be leading this portion of the program.
Today, thank you panelists for joining us. For today's discussion, we'd like to highlight the response for sustainability on our island and the limited resources and the tremendous stress and burden placed upon it. So we would like to hear from your discussion how your respective roles contribute to continuation and sustainability of our island. We can start from right to left. We can start.
Okay. I have some slides, maybe they can be put up. It helps to illustrate just some of the issues with the aquifer. We have the slides up, kind of show it. Engineers need slides. Okay, if you could just move to the next slide. When we think in terms of water resource sustainability, what comes to mind, at least for waterworks, is the Northern Guam lens. And this is a quote that you see up here from the former director of WURI, Dr. John Jensen. And he's describing the characteristics of the Northern Guam lens. But the portion of the quote that I'd like to draw attention to is just the bolded part at the bottom, where he says that we are kind of blessed, and if you were to design an aquifer, you could hardly do better than what we have with the Northern Guam lens aquifer. It recharges quickly and it drains slowly, and it provides, if you move to the next slide, it provides, from these statistics you can see, our daily production or monthly production. On the next slide. There you go. So we produce on average, and this is for the month of December in 2024, about 43 million gallons a day of water from the Waterworks Authority through various sources. But if you look at the top, that 38.7 million gallons a day comes from the Northern Guam Lens Aquifer. So that's 90% of the water that we produce and sell to our customers comes from the Northern Guam Lens. Next slide, please. So what do we mean by sustainability? Is it just, do we have enough water? The theoretical maximum yield of the Northern Guam Lens, based on the work by Weary, is about 80 million gallons a day. You can see that we're drawing almost half of that, so we're at 50%. So we have enough, we are producing enough, but what is the quality? And that also has to factor into sustainability. And then the larger question, when you start to think about how it affects everyone's livelihood, is the affordability of the water and how much does it cost to produce and distribute. You move to the next slide. So in terms of the quality of the water, what you're looking at here is a map of the northern Guam, and all those little red dots, that you see are septic tanks. And these are developed areas that are using individual treatment systems and not connected to the sewer. So what that means is the discharge from these individual treatment systems, these septic tanks, goes directly into the ground and then eventually makes its way into the Northern Guam Lens Aquifer. So the threats, the known threats that we have include nitrates, which are produced in the effluent that gets discharged from these septic tanks into the aquifer. So just based on the density of those red dots, you can see that there are many areas on the island which are under threat from increased nitrates from these systems. You'll note there are little blue dots with larger white circles around them. Those are all of our production wells. And there are many production wells which are within these areas with a high concentration of red dots. And so in those wells, we are beginning to see a concerning increase in nitrate levels. The other threat is chlorides, which is saltwater intrusion. And if you have spent any time in Saipan, you know that one of the issues with their water production is that they have high chlorides from overpumping, which is something that GWA is very concerned about. You move up to the next slide. So just in terms of we talked about the production rate, we're at 50%. That 80%, or I'm sorry, 80 million gallon maximum yield, it would be if we put all the wells in the best places to draw water from in the aquifer. And so this larger graphic here shows a model that was developed by Weary that says if you put all those wells in the most productive spots in the aquifer, how much water could you get? And that's where that 80 million gallons come from. So 80 million gallons of the best, freshest water of the highest quality, if everything is perfect, but the system isn't perfect. So if you look at the little map on the corner, you can see there's all of those black dots are where our wells are distributed. And if you look at the shading, the red is the area where the aquifer is freshest, and it takes a lot of distance for you to go down into the aquifer to see an increase in chlorides. So where it's red, you have to go a long way down to get to saltwater. Where it is light yellow, you don't have to go very far at all, maybe 10 or 20 feet down to see a significant change in the chlorides. So what that tells you is we have a lot of wells in these areas that are at risk from chlorides. Next slide, please. Those risks that I talked about are just natural risks of producing the water, but there are also man-made risks that are introduced into the aquifer. And one of those which has got a lot of attention recently is PFAS and emerging contaminants. And the picture that I'm showing you here is a photo from the early 80s Idaho house. And you can see in this picture notated at the top of this photo album, there's a treasure hunt through the phone. And this is part of a fire prevention week that was held at Townhouse. And so what you can see is a NAS, again, a fire truck in the back. That's the air station firefighting rescue trucks. Those trucks are the ones that would spray the foam. And so for this fire prevention week event, they sprayed a lot of this foam into the parking lot in the Uganda Shopping Center. They had kids running through it looking for, treasure. And then when it was all done, they washed it down and it went into the soil surrounding the Uganda Shopping Center. And this is why GWA suspects that 2 of its wells have to be shut down from high levels of PFAS. And we're working to put in a treatment system to bring that back up. So this is an easy way to identify where that comes from. It's fairly obvious that this is a contributing source. But this is just explains 2 wells out of the 120 wells that we have. Next slide, please. And if you consider where else this might be coming from, because we're starting to see these chemicals widespread throughout the northern Guam aquifer, we have in all of our testing determined that there are essentially clusters of wells that show higher or increasing concentrations of PFAS that we're going to have to build treatment systems for. In 2 of those clusters, what we did find as a common thread, where you can see on this Google Map image here, there are little red dots there, and those are hard fills, unlined construction hard fills where they put in construction debris, stuff that doesn't go in the regular landfill, but there's no lining on it. And so we suspect near these red dots, we have wells that show higher levels of PFAS. So these are man-made sources, man-made routes of entry that are introducing potentially these emerging contaminants into our northern Guam aquifer. There's another cluster, if you move to the next slide, please, that isn't explained by the presence of hard fills. You'll see this is the same slide I showed you before. The bottom left-hand corner, you can see that concentration of red dots where the septic systems are. Those 2 wells in that area are also showing increasing signs of PFAS. So we suspect that your regular domestic wastewater that gets disposed of in your sewer system or your septic system contains PFAS because it's endemic in society already. It's in food packaging, it's on your clothes, it's on your carpets. So as you move through your day and wash your clothes, it ends up in your wastewater. Food that you eat, maybe it was in pizza boxes and fast food wrappers. These chemicals get excreted by your body and into the sewer. And if you're not connected to the sewer and GWA is not collecting your wastewater and treating it, then it's entering in through the septic systems into the aquifer. So these are issues and threats and that affect our ability to continue to produce water into the future. And we can produce it and we can clean it up, but all of that costs money. If you go to the next slide, we'll show you what else we're doing about trying to address some of these sustainability issues. Next slide, please. GWA has spent a lot of money and effort to better study the aquifer so we can kind of see these trends and monitor for them. We recently rehabilitated the network of deep observation wells that WERI and USGS use to monitor the health of the aquifer. You can see the the blue dots on this represent existing monitoring wells that we have put money into rehabilitating. And then we also expanded by adding 7 new ones, primarily on DOD property. And those are reflected in the pink balloons in this map. You can see on the inset map on the right, where there are subbasins within the aquifer. You'll notice that for some of the subbasins, there are only red dots, and those are the new ones that we added. So with this work that we've done recently, we were able to get a picture, at least get some data from portions of the aquifer that we have not ever had data from before. So we are expanding that network in order to give us an additional view into how to better manage and sustain water production on Guam. Next slide, please. In association with that, we recently established the One Guam Water Resource Information Program, which brought the Department of Defense into this program of data collection and monitoring. And for the first time in Guam's history, they are contributing monetarily to the regular maintenance of this network and also to the collection of the data for University of Guam so that WIRI can provide objective scientific data to help guide GWA and DOD in developing their water resources and managing them. And next slide, please. The other thing we're doing is we're investing in adding sewer to areas where there have historically been none, so we can eliminate these septic tanks. So we have a septic tank elimination program. One of the projects we are working on constructing right now is in the Atacao area. So you can see these lots, there's a lot of development here where there is already existing septic systems. We're putting in new sewer lines and new sewer pump stations to provide centralized collection. And you'll notice we have these little light blue squares up there. Those are deep wells. So in this area where we're putting in the sewer, there are 5 or 6 production wells here that will be protected now from the septic systems that were previously existing here once we get everybody connected to the sewer. And that's part of the reason we chose this area first, is because these are high value production wells and they are seeing an increase in nitrates. Next slide, please. So the other thing GWA is doing is investing a lot of money to protect the aquifer by upgrading our wastewater collection system. What you're looking at, this pie chart here, reflects our next 5 years of capital improvement projects. And all told, this is $898 million worth of improvements that need to be put in the ground for various initiatives. But the ones that affect protection of the aquifer include our wastewater collection system, which is at $268 million, or 30% of our total capital improvement program. And then also water treatment and production to build systems to treat for PFAS and other emerging contaminants. That is about $203 million total, or about 22% of our total CIP. And then the last piece is the water distribution work that we're doing. That's $203 million, or about 23%, and that is to fix our old leaky pipes so that of that $39 million that we're producing, we don't lose any more than we have to. So that a lot of money and work needs to go into fixing the pipes in order to do that. Next slide, please. So these are some of the things that GWA is doing to address the sustainability issues, and from those numbers that I threw out in terms of millions of dollars we're spending, that comes from grants, or it comes from revenues, your rates, or it comes from financing that we have to get, which is funded by your revenues. So bank loans that we have to get, or bonds that we have to sell. All of that increases the price of the water that we produce. And so it is not sustainable to continue to invest that type of money. But what is sustainable is if you replace your infrastructure on a regular basis. What has not been done historically with the Water Works Authority is regular annual maintenance or replacements. If you know that your pipe is going to last 20 years, then every 4 years, or every year, you should be replacing 5% of your inventory. That has never been done, but it's what we're starting to do right now. So in the future, we want to be able to fund that from revenues without having to go out and borrow all this money and buy all these bonds and drive up the cost of the water. That addresses the affordability and sustainability issue moving forward. But there's a lot more that needs to be done, and I think I've listed some of the things here. I think there needs to be stronger policies, both from the executive branch and the legislative branch, to protect the resource. There needs to be a focus on preventing pollution as opposed to treating it after it's already in the ground. Nobody is looking for the source of, in the government that I'm aware of, is looking for the source of PFAS. There are no regulations which are, or laws which seek to ban food wrappers or products that contain PFAS, or ban them from consumer products in general. So until those things happen, we can't really get to prevention, so we're just having to deal with post-pollution treatment, which is expensive. There needs to be, as I mentioned, regular annual investment in your infrastructure. And you could look at alternative resources. We rely heavily on the Northern Guam lands for most of our water, but we can develop other resources, including everything that is lost through stormwater that goes out into the ocean. If we could capture that and store it, that would help provide additional resources and sustainability. And finally, just in terms of development, I talked about the septic tanks. Those are a result of the way we have historically developed properties on Guam. I think that there is a big hole in the way we do that, the way we approach land development, which affects our natural resources. And I think there needs to be a whole of government approach to coordinated efforts to make sure that we develop smartly and we are putting in the infrastructure when we are making developments. Housing is important, but so is the infrastructure to support it so that we can protect beyond. So these are a few things that I think need to be looked at moving forward for sustainability for water resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to our next panelist. Good day, everybody. My name again is Austin Shelton. I serve as director of the University of Guam Center for Island Sustainability and Sea Grant. So at the other side of campus in Dean Circle, that's where you'll find our houses, our offices over there. We have a team now of about 80 staff, some faculty that are on our team doing things in all sectors of sustainability. And so just to give you a general definition of how we think about sustainability, that is meeting the needs of today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Or in simpler terms, just living here in Guam like we intend to stay here. Right? And you can apply this, I think, to everybody, what they're doing on the panel, meeting today's needs for water without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. How much space do we have for tourists to come into Guam and to be able to support that carrying capacity of additional visitors and residents? Same for trees, for housing. What is the sustainability to meet those needs and to make sure that we're thriving in the future? Now, the important thing about sustainability is that it's not just about the environment. It's not just about things like trees and water. It's really interdisciplinary. It's this intersection between human society, the economy, and the environment. So everything right there in between is where we're working on sustainability. And so the team that we have, the 80 members, a lot of them have actually been graduates from your programs at the School of Business and Public Administration. They're working in as business majors, even social workers. We have a lot of scientists as well, but doing all different topics like fisheries management, watershed restoration work, policy work, especially in the Guam Green Growth Framework, which is our island's most comprehensive public-private partnership ever created to achieve a sustainable future. I think everybody here on our table has somebody, either themselves directly or somebody from their organization as part of the Guam Green Growth Working Group, which is working on an interdisciplinary set of the sustainable development goals outlined by the United Nations. And Guam is aligned with all of those and moving hundreds of different action items forward. That's all tracked on an online dashboard. If you ever want to get dig into some of the data on the progress on how Guam is making an impact, not just locally, but globally, you can just Google the Guam Green Growth Dashboard and see what that's all about. I'm just going to leave you with a couple of examples. I think two of the biggest sustainability challenges that we have on island are the over-reliance on imports. This is one. We bring in over 90% of all of the food and the goods that we consume. And the second big thing is that we have an overproduction of waste. So all of that stuff that we bring in, our waste management strategy is very expensive. And what we do is dig holes in the ground, fill it up with trash, and we're running out of space living our lives like this. It's because we're stuck in what's called a linear economy. You dig something out of the earth, you use that, you make something out of it and use it, and then you throw it away and you start all over again. So the concept of a circular economy is you bend that line into a loop, and then you regenerate natural systems, keep materials in use, and you design out waste and pollution to begin with. And so some practical ways to do that, we have some programs at our center, such as our Guam Green Growth Circular Economy
makerspace and innovation hub at the Chamorro Village. If you wanted to take
have a voice to be able to say we have to do more to protect the resources, because planting trees alone is not going to do it. I heard solar lights. So we need to coordinate better, and this is something too to know as partners and community members on that. When we talk about sustainability and growth, we're not against the growth of industry, the growth of an island and effort. But what we do need to be better about is coordinating those efforts. Because forestry is really great at predicting where solar lights are going to go. We will plant a tree. We can predict where the power lines are going to go, where the street lights are going to go, because then I get a call for a tree cutting permit. So this is where, when we look at efforts to be green, we look at efforts to be sustainable, you cannot sacrifice the thing that's already there doing the work for this effort to hit this goal. So let's learn to work with the trees, work around the trees, and plan your plan for what you have on the ground already. Yeah?
Today, Fernando Esteves, I'm the Deputy Director of the Guam Housing and Urban Renewal Authority. So I don't think I need to go into much detail regarding housing challenges. We did an entire summit of this in January. You can find that on our YouTube. With respect to where the time is now, and with respect to the people I have behind me working towards resolving and moving us forward in progress with these issues, you know, I'm not going to try to fit in the complexities of this within 2 minutes. I'm happy to schedule another time with any of your classes, as much time as you guys need to make sure with intent and intention, we have an understanding of these problems, we can move them forward. It's not going to happen today, but happy to set that time for you with respect to housing. And I also want to provide opportunities for the other two panelists to be able to discuss and hopefully get a couple questions in before we're out of time. So thank you.
All right, a round of applause, please, for Senator Esteves. Thank you so much. And thank you. My name is Al Silverio. I've got a PowerPoint here presentation to talk to you about sustainability in our culture and the community in the face of extreme health disparities. And in here, we have a short quiz. I know we are in an institution of higher education, but you don't have to have any paper or pencil down. So if I could get the PowerPoint up, please. Again, my name is Al Silverio. I am the Health Services Administrator for the Guam Department of Public Health and Social Services. I've been working there for almost 20 years now, and parts of the element that you'll see here are for our culturally and linguistically appropriate services training. And I know some of you have taken the course. Ms. Kirsten here, our all-star interpreter, has taken the course before. It is a one-semester class here at the University of Guam, and it is actually a required course, a legislative mandate for government of Guam employees who are licensed or are working with patients or clients in the community. So with that, please, if I can get the PowerPoint up, the health disparities presentation, please. And while that's getting started, just to let you know, one of the things that we are working on is gender-based education. 3/4 of us here in this room, in this village, have been sexually assaulted. And usually the perpetrator is a male. Not always, but most of the time. And in this discussion, we'll talk about triggers that may impact you personally or individually. You may also be a perpetrator yourself. What does that have to do with sustainability? Everything. If we don't have the people in good health, ethically, morally, and legally, sustainability has no chance. We have to start at home with the parents. Most of you here are women. You are the queens of your home. We let people know that through our social workers and public health. Ladies, please don't make a meal for yourself, for your children, and your husband. You make one meal and they eat it, or they die. That's just the way it is. Men, you are not better than any woman. Women, you are no less than any man. Chuquis people, you are no less than Filipinos or Chamorros. We have to understand that. We all have different ideologies and beliefs, and in order to have a sustainable community, we have to be healthy as individuals. Now, public health, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that the services that you deserve, that we are funded for, get to you equitably and fairly. That hasn't always been the case, but today we have to start. All right, thank you. If you can go to the next slide, please. And panelists, please feel free. If you want to see, we're going to have a test that includes you as well. All right, here we go. And the next slide, please. We're going to take a quiz here. Next slide, please. Thank you. We'll talk about health disparities. Health disparities happen when things are not equal, where there's a big difference. All of us are standing on this table. We're dancing, we're playing, we're working. We lose our jobs, we have cancer, we get fired, something that happens and we fall to the floor. The distance between this table and the floor is a disparity. In order for us to be healthy and sustain our community, those on that floor must be brought back on this table. That takes effort. Next, please. There's a quiz. Again, no paper, no pencil. Let's see what you know, all right? Next slide, please. Please tell me who this person is. Look very closely. You may have seen him before. 80% of people who took the class training this semester do not know who this person is. Who is this person? Next slide, please. That's J.D. Vance. She's the Vice President of the United States of America. And it's likely here at the University of Guam, I presented this twice, 85% of the students did not know who our Vice President is. Next slide. Who is this person? Look very closely. He's very important to many of you here. Do you know who he is? Have you seen him at Kmart? Have you seen him on your airplane? Anyone know who he is? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That's Wesley Simona. He is the president of the Federated States of Micronesia. Many of us here do not know who he is, but Chuk Kosrai Pompey and Yap have a president, and he is the man. He's right. Come to Guam. Have opportunities for better education, health, social services, employment. Do we welcome them here? Do you know a Chuquis holiday? Do you know a Chuquis food? If we want them to comply with us, we have to understand everybody, not just our culture, but other people as well. Next slide, please. You know who he is? On this island, 75 to 80% of us should know exactly who this man is just by looking at him. Do you know who he is? Next slide, please. That's Pope Francis Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He is the Pope of the Catholic Church, the world's largest nonprofit organization. We have to know who our spiritual leaders are as well. We talk about sustainability to give us a guidance, the moral compass for us to succeed. Next. That's a $20 bill in the pursuit of happiness and capitalism, sustaining our economies. I hope you make lots of money. Money is not the root of all evil. It's often the lack of money that's the root of all evil. Who is the face on a $20 bill? Look very closely. Who do you think that man is? Do you know? Next. That's Andrew Jackson. He appears on a $20 bill. To this day, the United States does not have a woman on U.S. currency. Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite authors, said, you get what you settle for. Everything you have today, your education, your finances, your self-esteem, the kind of car you have, the money in the bank, is because today you're okay with it. You want more? Get it. No one is stopping you. In order to have sustainability, we have to be driven to have a better community. Next slide, please. If you look at your money on the lower left-hand corner, you may have a Chamorro name. In this case, we have Rosa Guma Tautau Rios, Guma Tautau, home of the people. We have Chamorro names on U.S. currency. $27.5 billion of our sustainable money is on U.S. currency with a Chamorro name. We are everywhere. Next. Where are the islands of Langarhans located? The islands of Langarhans, have you heard of them before? Where are you, University of Guam students? Have you heard this of biology and geography? Any guesses? Where are the islands of Langarhans? The Caribbean, the West Indies, the East Pacific Ocean? Next slide, please. The islands of Langarhans are located in your pancreas. They produce insulin. We are building 4 new dialysis centers here on Guam. No new hospitals, no new schools, 4 dialysis centers because we're expecting you to become diabetic. That's not sustainability, right? That's not sustainability at all. We have people that say, you know, Mr. Al, when I become diabetic, I will, what? No, you will not become diabetic. Stop feeding your children Fanta orange juice in the bottles, okay? We have that at public health. It's not illegal, we can't stop them, but that does not contribute to sustainability. It creates health disparities, where now you are dependent for your dental and oral health and your diabetes on public health because you have no insurance. You have no access to care, and we will help you 100%. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of your islands of Langerhans located in your pancreas. For people with the dialysis, that's a machine that connects you, takes out your blood, cleans it, and puts it back in. That's not quality of life, that's not sustainability. That's for people who have insurance or the money to pay for dialysis. 50% of people who need dialysis don't get it and they die. Next, please. What do the letters GCIC stand for? Many of you drive by this building almost every day but have no idea what it means. What does the letters GCIC stand for? Any guesses? Next. GCIC stands for the Guam Capital Investment Corporation. This building is as old as the ITC building, but many of us have no idea what it is about, right? That's what it is. The Guam Capital Investment Corporation. All right, next. Next slide, please. How did you do on your quiz? If you got 1 right, you passed. Okay? That's a very low standard, right? But if you got 1 right, you passed, right? We need to do better. If you want the island to be self-sustaining, we have to know culture, history, and ourselves. Next, please. Why do we do this quiz? Because we don't know everything, and neither do the people that we serve. But they expect us to know better, so the standards have to be raised. Academically, UOG, raise your standards. Go more, do better. Don't just be good for something. Something can be useful to sustain this island, right? Next. That's our island right there. Look at that beautiful island. 35%, 1/3 of this island is owned by the federal government, US federal government. 20% is owned by government of Guam. You're sitting in one right now. And then only 45% is owned by us. Less than half of this island of 165,000 people is owned by us. That is a seriously bad disparity that we cannot change, but we have to live with every single day, right? Next, please. We have to address and reduce health disparities. You have to reduce them. Next, please. How do we do that? Here on Guam, we are number 2 in the nation for sexual assault. Sometimes we're number 1. We are raping each other on 45% of this land. Why are we number 2 in the nation per capita for sexual assault and rape? We are Chamorros, proud Filipinos. Our culture is not about violence, and yet our statistics show that we are number 1 or number 2 in the nation for rape. That is not a good thing. We are number 4 in chlamydia infections, the sexually transmitted diseases. For people who get tested, there are many people who do not get tested and have chlamydia or another sexually transmitted disease. That's not sustainability. That's cost expensive medical care. And many times chlamydia has no symptoms. Guam infant mortality rates are double that of the US. Do you know what that means? That means women on Guam are giving birth to dead babies at twice the rate of those in the United States. We don't deserve that. Ladies, you carry a baby to full term and it's born dead. That is unacceptable. And many times it's because these women do not have access to healthcare services here on Guam. Or many of them don't know they're supposed to get prenatal care services as well. Next slide, please. Oh, there's a hole in the floor. That's a disparity too. So if you have holes in your floor, you have a chair, and you have a big guy like me. I thought it actually broke the chair, but thank God. Ooh, how embarrassing that this big Filipino broke the chair. All right. Guam suicide rates are over 50% higher than US maybe. Why is it that we have culture respect tonight out, amen, everybody, but we kill ourselves over finances and relationships at 50% higher than US rates? That's sad. We lose 1 person almost every other day to a suicide. Guam has the highest smoking rates in the US. Sometimes we're number 1, sometimes we're number 2. Women on Guam smoke at a higher rate than the men in the US. Why do you do that? Nothing good comes from smoking. And we have the champions right here. I'm so proud that many of our senators here supported tobacco 21, raising the age of smoking to 21 years old. And yet, right now at DOE, the biggest problem we have are middle school students smoking because adults are buying cigarettes for them. We have to do better for that. That's not sustaining our culture. That's destroying it. We also have COVID-19 highly disproportionately impacted our sisters and brothers from the FSM. Not because they were bad. Public health, Guam in general, did not do the very best job at offering interpreters and translators. We're doing better now. We're doing much better. Next slide, please. We also found out this among the FSM, and I love the FSM. I had my internship there, learning to speak the language. Here we're among the lowest who are getting tested, the lowest getting vaccinated, and the lowest getting care. But they're among the highest in fatalities for COVID-19. We could have and we should have done better. We are ready now. And they're also the lowest groups of people who are getting vaccinations and assessments. Right? So we are ready. We have now hired more Chuukese, Costrayan, Pohnpeian, and Yapi speaking individuals at public health. More Palamas and more people from the Republic of the Marshall Islands as well. So we're doing the best we can at public health to meet the needs of our community. All right, next. Now, if you have heard an ambulance go by and that person has no way to pay, you pay it, right? By law, we have to have people seen at the emergency room. But if they don't pay it, you pay it. And right now, healthcare encumbrances from all of us who are taking care of those who have no health insurance are the highest in history. We should be paying for more schools. You heard Fed Bordalio, we need to have a larger prison system. We can have better roads, better utilities, but we're paying for healthcare systems and problems that could have prevented in the first place. All right, next. This is a great picture. I like this. The reality is on your left-hand side. You have a lot of people with a lot of resources and a lot of people who don't have anything. They can't see the world view. We want liberation. That's the last on your right side. That's where we have no barriers and we have no entitlements and we have no giveaways for people. Everyone on their merit earns a good life. Work hard, go to school, save your money, contribute to the community. That's sustainability, right? That's how it works. All right, next. I love this slide. These are my former students from the University of Guam and James Madison University. They are big girls, big girls. I love them. They're community health workers. They go out there and spread the word about prevention, quitting smoking, addressing diabetes and hypertension. But they're big. And they're in front of chotis in Anigua. Those of you know chotis, I love chotis, right? You go there for your banana and nobody, fantastic. But look at chotis, they have tobacco, alcohol, and they have the baby Jesus Belém in the upper right-hand corner, right? So our culture is not always about sunsets and beaches. That's our culture, and we have to be proud of it. Sustain it. Okay? Support businesses, support good health, support good moral compasses, and stay in school. For all of you who are in school, there's about 30 others who want to come to school that can't because they can't afford it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, these are the solutions. I've given you the problem, solutions to this. Be relatable. You are the next generation to take care of this island. Be relatable. Discrimination, hatred, indifference, apathy has no place anymore. Right? You have to give a damn. You have to care at some point. No one is better than you, and you are not better than anybody. Be sincere and encouraging. Right? Instead of putting people down, lift them up. We hear about the tides lifting up ships, the tides lowering the ships, the tides lift them up again. But we have ships that have sunk, and those people have people that's still alive in there. Don't forget the disparate populations. Those are the sunken ships. And understand those that we serve, right? Understand them. Why are they the way they are? You can't blame people for being Democrat or Republican or fat or skinny. You can't. Who said blue means boy and pink means girl? Show me a scholarly citation that says that. We just seem to believe things with no direction at all. Have some direction and conviction and help this island be as sustainable, meaning surviving at its highest level as possible. Right, next. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. All of you here have problems, huge mega problems. All of us do. Don't make it worse for other people, right? Lift them up, it comes back to you. Next. This picture is 25 years old. These are the people who helped me because I was among the bigoted, racist persons around. I did not understand people who are different from me, but they helped me. Right here in the blue, Dr. Tim De La Cruz, he's a professor here at the University of Guam, He also established Guam's Alternative Lifestyle Association. Behind him, Mr. Stephen Killing from Ponte, the premier caseworker from Child Protective Services. And next to him from Palau, Marlene Ongesi, the first female president of the Guam Board of Social Workers. And in the black, Mr. Ed Titano, the premier caseworker who established the models for casework at Department of Youth Affairs. And next to him, my good friend, Dr. Dorina Fred, the first Chuukese physician ever, right? The first female Chuukese physician. And of course, Mr. Julian Uggan, now an attorney, my former student at public health before, right? Yeah. I don't think that. Don't forget who uplifted you and who brought you to our today, because we are going to age out of the system. We need you to take over. Next slide, please. So, Sejuro Sumase, on behalf of our Director, Teresa Ariola, Deputy Director Amanda Shelton, and Chief Public Health Officer, and also Deputy Director Peter John Uggan, and Chief Public Health Officer Catherine Ancap, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. Moving on to our last panelist, we'd like to welcome Mr. Glenn Hunter.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay on your side? I apologize. I got about a 5-minute delay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. I hope everybody will bear with me as I'm speaking remotely and I can't hear or see anyone in attendance while I'm speaking. So let me just make sure that audio is through. Okay, got thumbs up. Okay, Hafade Tiro, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Glenn Hunter, and I'm currently in transit headed back to the islands. I had hoped to be there to present at the panel in person, but got tied up off island and was unable to get back in. I'd just like to extend my thanks to the University of Guam School of Business and Public Administration for inviting me to join this panel. It's an honor to be able to present and to discuss the crucial aspects of our governance and sustainability efforts in specifically regards to broadband and significant impact on the economic development in the CNMI, your brothers and sisters just a little up to the north. Historically, the CNMI has been faced with substantial challenges, often relying on short-term economic solutions like carbon factories and casinos. And while these industries benefited a select few, they ultimately proved unsustainable and left our community in precarious situations. The one we're in right now, due to the pandemic, is a prime example. The pandemic intensified those challenges. Unlike other regions in the nation, we're still witnessing a downward trend in economic indicators since the onset of the pandemic, primarily due to our heavy reliance on tourism, in our case especially tourism from China. In order to create a more sustainable environment, the governor, when he took office 2 years ago, decided to pivot away from an over-reliance on China and has been looking to diversify the economy and diversify our tourism sector. Recognizing that access to affordable, reliable, and high-speed broadband is essential for full participation in today's economy, the governor has set out an ambitious course to transform our islands into a thriving digital economy. In his first few months in office, he established the Broadband Policy and Development Office, that's BPD, that I'm representing today. He reached out to me and asked me to lead it with the specific mission of securing federal funding and private investments to deploy critical digital infrastructure across the CNMI. This strategic initiative aligns closely with the session's theme today of Bridges Policy in Progress. The governor's broadband development policy emphasizes not only immediate connectivity, but also the importance of diversifying our economy. In response to the pandemic's impact, he has focused in on reducing dependence on tourism and reducing and fostering a more resilient economic landscape. By prioritizing broadband access, we are addressing a technological gap while ensuring that our governance evolves to meet the needs of all our citizens. This long-term vision is essential and moves us away from traditional methods that prioritize quick wins, sometimes for just political gain. Everybody realizes that within 2 or 4 year election cycles, but instead is looking towards a sustainable strategy that promotes local and organic growth. The results of this vision are already evident. The governor's initiatives have catalyzed over 200 million in projects aimed at building a digital economy within the next 4 years. A key component of this effort was the BEAD grant program. It's a federal grant program that we were able to secure. We were able to secure over $80 million for the CNMI for that one program, which will give us the ability to achieve universal broadband access, basically climate-hardened underground fiber to the home, to every single home and business in the CNMI within the next 3 to 4 years. That'll provide us with a resilient terrestrial fiber network throughout the entire CNMI. Additionally, we formed a strategic partnership with Google for critical projects, including trans-Pacific cable landings and an ICT facility on tape. The cable landings will be the first ever trans-Pacific cable landings to the CNMI, and they have a unique purpose of resilience and redundancy to overcome. Currently, we hitchhike through the internet through Guam, through your island, and that's created a single point of failure. And so these trans-Pacific cable landings are very important. The ICT facility that's being developed also will demonstrate a global tech giant's confidence in investing in our region. This showcases our region's potential. The hope is that other hyperscalers, aside from Google, like AWS, and that's Amazon, Cloudflare, Azure, Meta, and some of the other ones will all utilize our region as well, eventually causing a shift of what's traditionally known as the edge of the US internet, being on the West Coast, to the Marianas. And what that would do is that would position the Marianas as it's set in Guam where America's day begins. We can now say the Marianas will be where America's internet begins. This development represents progress not only in technology, but also in governance, as we create an environment that attracts investment to our region. Recognizing that infrastructure alone is not enough, we have also been prioritizing workforce development programs to train our residents for high-tech, high-paid jobs in this new sector. These programs have already, we launched a broadband boot camp in 2025, and that was aimed to equip our people with the skills necessary to deploy and maintain that fiber network we talked about. So instead of just getting an $80 million grant from the federal government to deploy fiber optic networks and rely on, say, maybe outside contractors to come in and do that, we front-loaded it with a workforce development program in which we're training 300 individuals within our community on how to properly deploy those fiber networks. We've also put together a 5-year plan for digital expansion that would focus in on other workforce development programs, as well as cybersecurity training and just general digital literacy programs. We were able to secure additional grants on that front from the federal government as well. We got just under $5 million to move forward with the 5-year, what we call a digital expansion plan. The focus on inclusivity in those plans is vital for achieving social justice and ensuring that no one is left behind in this economic transformation. The economic development benefits of this transformation are substantial. Unlike past approaches that lead to those temporary gains that I talked about, this improved connectivity will stimulate local economies and create sustainable jobs. It will attract outside investments in technology and will also entice local entrepreneurship in the sector. And it positions CNMI as a destination for digital nomads as well as digital remote workers. Furthermore, encouraging the development of these data centers will play a crucial role in this whole transformation. These facilities not only provide the robust infrastructure needed for businesses, but they also will enhance the region's appeal to tech companies who seek reliable hosting solutions. The presence of data centers will also create high-skilled jobs, boost the local economy, and encourage further investment in technology-related fields. Enhancing broadband will improve access to essential services such as healthcare and education, and rich educational experiences, and help close longstanding equity gaps that we had due to high latency and or just poor connectivity. Additionally, enhanced connectivity can significantly boost our tourism industry by enabling better access to information and services for our visitors, as well as integrated into our tourism sites such as AR and VR type technologies to further enhance our already beautiful island. We're developing a CNI-centric online portal as well for digital entrepreneurship to help try and scale up local businesses so that they can operate globally. In conclusion, the CNI is making unprecedented progress in bridging the digital divide while fostering good governance, justice, and sustainability. Through strategic investments like the BEAD grant program, key partnerships with hyperscalers such as Google, and strong focus on workforce development and digital expansion programs, we are paving the way for long-term sustainable economic growth rooted in a robust digital infrastructure. This will enhance connectivity for all our residents and serve as a powerful catalyst for sustainable economic growth and improved quality of life. The future is bright for the CNI, promising prosperity and innovation as the Mariana, as I said earlier, the Marianas altogether become where America's internet begins. Thank you folks so much for having me today, and I'll be open for some questions. We might just have to get over the technical difficulties. I think it's pretty interesting that the broadband guy is connecting via Zoom to this conference. So I think even though it was a fluke that I got caught in transit, perhaps it was fitting. But thanks again so much, and thanks to all the UOG tech people that made this possible. And that pretty much wraps it up for my spiel.
Thank you to our panelists. We have a few questions to ask. The most predominant question we're coming across is the impacts to the new administration in terms of President Donald Trump and how funding from the federal side is being restricted or reallocated and repurposed. So the question we're asking is, how, if any, do federal budget cuts to your respective roles impact your work and your agencies? We would like to start off with Mr. Glenn Hunter, if you can hear me. Sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me? There's just a slight delay, so I apologize if I'm talking over anybody. I have to mute you guys on my little phone and then move over to Zoom. But as far as any delays or pauses or stoppage when it comes to any of the federal programs, we're, just so everybody knows, when the governor stood up our broadband policy development office, he did it through directive and hard-coded into it that we're 100% federally funded. So we don't tap local funds at all to diversify the economy in this stance. So with the change in administration, we were closely monitoring what was occurring. Thankfully, our program and our intent of building up infrastructure and creating a more secure environment and focusing on workforce development and cybersecurity development and national security all fall directly in line with the new administration's policies themselves. And therefore, we haven't had any pauses or stops to any of our funding opportunities. And all of the funding opportunity we have today that's sustaining our office all came from our bipartisan legislation as well. And so with that being said, we're very hopeful that we won't see any massive negative changes coming from the new administration. If anything, what we have been able to see on our front is the administration's new policies are pretty much more shifting towards putting more power in the hands of the states and territories when it comes to federal programs. That we see as beneficial. Up until this point, we've spent a good year and a half in very federally mandated back and forth planning stages with the NTIA. That has caused the implementation of programs to be slightly delayed. But from our offices, we're a new office and everything, it was also appreciated. It forced us to do real intense planning to ensure that these funds, once we start drawing them down, will be used properly and will be efficiently and effectively drawn down to develop the infrastructure that we're after and to run these programs that we're after. long story shorter is just that it hasn't been really impactful to us at all, and we do anticipate some maybe positive changes coming with the new administration.
Thank you. We'll now pass the question on to Ms. Alcivario. Are there any impacts, if any, to your respective role or agency in regards to federal funding?
Yes, thank you, everyone. We were horribly impacted in the last few days. We've had entire programs terminated. We've never had a federal government program termination in the history that I'm aware of at Public Health. So I have about 8 people who have no jobs, including myself, today, because we were told you don't exist anymore. My programs were under the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, DEI, UOG. You have a DEI office here. You were also told to cease and desist, but that doesn't mean you stop the work that we do. So we have a very creative group of people at Public Health to help ensure that our staff continues to work. They will be on leave for the next week, but it does impact our work and what we say and what we do. At Public Health, we can no longer say the words equity. We can't say diversity. We can't say exclusiveness or inclusiveness. So we're very constrained with some of the things we're impacted with. Our epidemiology, laboratory capacity programs have also been impacted. Many of the things that have been pulled from us does not detract from our work. We are strong. We will survive. We'll make it. We'll continue to do what we believe is right. And that's to treat everybody fairly, to bring out the best in everyone, to include people, regardless of your race or ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your pre-existing physical conditions, even your citizenship status. We're now, as you know, allowing people eligible for food stamps and SNAP benefits who are not U.S. citizens, and those who have committed felonies, we are now including them. So we're moving forward with that, despite the fact that our administration may not be on the surface as friendly as we would like. We will continue to remember our culture is important. Although we're impacted halfway around the world, we will continue to strengthen everything that we know that's good and right here on Guam.
So an interesting thing happened with our forestry funding. We had a $1.5 million grant that we secured for industry, potentially in growth. So train people on tree care, tree worker, that would be funding going to trades to help establish that. And then larger sub-grants going out as competitions to the community, like $250,000, $300,000 pots. The thing about this grant, which I find very ironic, was that we had to use a tool called CJust to qualify and find the community groups. But if anyone's ever written a grant and had to use this tool, it doesn't do Guam any justice. It meant that I could only do work around the airport and I think around a military base. That's where it seemed like we had the most need. And it hurt me to have to write a grant where this was going to be the center of where the service was going to be delivered. So I wrote it so that it would be within 5 miles from that point, wherever the points were, we would serve. So that helped us. That covered Guam. So because of the new administration and the things that can't be said anymore, that went away. Now I can serve Guam. No. They were going to pull the grant, but as long as we utilize more general terminology, I can actually serve all of Guam, because we consider all of Guam a disadvantaged community. And so it's just a little ironic that in this particular case, it worked out better for us, but we still run the risk of the entire $1.5 million being taken away, because the funders were already told, we were told to take it, but they're waiting. So we're waiting. So we were lucky enough that your forestry team, most of us are locally funded. I have 3 individuals on another grant that has not been affected. So they are still working. But because we're locally funded, our governor, your governor has said we're going to keep on moving and doing the good work for our community. And we have not paused in that. So.
Well, there's lots of uncertainty every day with what will happen with grants, but we are continuing to move forward with our programs. We're very diversified in our funding sources.
from all different types of federal agencies and donors as well that are contributing to and believe in the mission of the work that we're doing. I think that one of the strategies that we're thinking about is just being ready to assess and reframe all of the work that we're doing in line with the priorities of the administration, so that the new presidential administration, so that if we are given the chance to adjust or to defend some of the work that we're doing, that we're prepared to do that. So a lot of that is really just restructuring, and does this grant, do your grant deliverables contribute to the national defense, the safety, prosperity of America, and reframing it in that sense. And well, in a lot of our grants, it works. There's the work that we're doing in climate change. We might not be able to write that in every report anymore, but the work that we're doing is resilience for our island. We'll always be doing work that would touch on diversity, equity, and inclusion, but really what we're doing is just training the workforce for what Guam is. Who is represented in Guam. We're making sure that all of the people who represent our community makeup are involved in our programs. And in fact, when we've done word searches in our grant proposals, nothing is even getting flagged right now for DEI, because it's just been a natural part of how we've done our work, is to make sure that we're addressing the community needs. So those are positive things going forward. And so just being ready to make necessary changes, but not compromising on the mission of what we're trying to do to create a sustainable future is how we're working through this. So there have been a couple pauses, one termination on a grant, but right now what we're sharing with our funding, we get about we have about $20 million in active funds, in active grants, and so that's about a 20-time return on the local investment that comes into UOG specifically for our CIS and C grant programs. And so we're trying to show that we're making a really positive return on investment and continuing to do good work, and so we hope to keep that moving forward.
On the waterwork side, we don't receive any federal funds for operating costs, so operations will continue. We do receive US EPA infrastructure grant funds under the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed. We were expecting over the next 5 years about $80 million. That now is at risk. We don't know if we're going to get it. That's less than 10% of our 5-year capital improvement program. So out of the $898 million that we plan to spend on projects, $80 million won't be there, could potentially not be there. And so if we don't get those grant funds, we still have to do work. And so we will end up incurring additional debt in order to make up the difference. And so that is the potential impact, but it doesn't affect operations, just capital improvement.
Thank you to our panelists. Unfortunately, due to current time constraints, that will be the only question we'll ask for our panelists. All submitted questions will be forwarded to them, and then they'll be able to respond, and then we'll publish the answers back to you for the audience. Thank you once again to our panelists for joining us. Thank you all. Now we'll move on to Ms. Trixie, who will lead us to the closing for today's ceremony.
Thank you to all our panelists for that engaging discussion. You provided us with an invaluable perspective on the island and the region's future. And I'm sure everyone is here and will leave with new ideas and strategies to take back to their respective goals. As the day wraps up and we come to an end on this insightful and enriching conference, we would like to welcome our last speaker for today, University of Guam Board of Regents Treasurer, Mike Mahaloa, for his closing remarks.
A couple of months ago, my daughter said, I need you to do something for you, Daddy. Okay, shoot, no problem. They told me I gotta be here. Boy, was I fast. Anyway, I'm gonna thank everybody. You guys did a great job. You know, your class is just awesome. As a member of the Board of Regents, I'm fighting for you guys. Everything that I can do to help the people. And this is the result. I just wish that the previous panels were here also, so they can listen to what everybody is saying. Because I think this could have been a heck of a lot more, but I understand it's Saturday, everybody has to do stuff. But really, if you put everything together, it's a classic case of great people, great minds from you, the students. And I'm gonna thank you guys. And it shows the product from our professors, from the staff that's all here. This is the University of Guam. Will I continue to fight and stand? You better believe it, because there's a lot of points here, okay? And I want to thank everybody, including the guests who stopped by, guys. Thank you. I mean, the knowledge that you're part of here. I mean, if all the previous people were here, including the governor and the legislation, but I think we could all learn a lot, okay? Because everybody put in great. Thank you for guiding the class and putting everybody together. I asked my daughter to give me a list of all the students who are going to come here, so I'm going to name each one of you. Do me a favor, stand up. The first one, Lorena Ardos. Are you here?
Sorry, sir, she had work at 6.
Okay, for life. Okay, what about Mary Jane Kapu? Come on, stand, Mary Jane. Cameron Chargaloff, please stand.
She's in AP. She's in AP.
Okay, also want to mention Diana Chrysostomo. Okay, Angel Cruz. Molly Luis. Okay, mama now, hello. Then I got Harley and Lucho. And of course, this photo, Eli and one. What about Tristan Elias? Oh, okay. Okay, then what about Igumi Cindy Ikichi? I hope Dr. will be part of that. Anyway, next one is Hyunhwan Jo. And then I got Rhea King. What about Charmaine Ledesma? Kimo Litka. Then I got Yantes Mangonia. Let's go Maxwell Manning. I hope I did the University of Guam basketball team. I would mention Peaches for the whole of I see every day. And then I got Chris Cesar Perez. Adriana Tirigua. And I got Khalid Roberto. Then I got Asana May Roby. Then I got Rosanna Rosario. Then I got Camilo Santiago. Shalane Torres. Got Deborah Tobin. Jessica Valencia Luis. I'm really, everybody, I'm really proud. You just put a beautiful workshop. You guys all did great. And I'm grateful. Thank you. And you to all, and also I can't forget Dr. McNeil here. Thank you, sir. The more so, it just shows the quality. This is quality, guys. I'm proud to fight for the university. I'm proud to represent you guys. But more importantly, I'm proud that a lot of things good have happened today. Something that I'm glad that you guys are able to record it. This is really instrumental, not only the further development of Guam, but also the proof of the people that's going to be coming into taking over my place, in the future. And that's what I'm really happy about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And on behalf of the Board of Guam, University of Guam Board of Regents, thank you again also.
Thank you, everyone. And before we conclude, Dr. again wanted us to check if Professor McNeil would like to say any last words before we leave. You're good? Okay. Everybody, thank you for being here today. Long day and happy Saturday for the rest of your weekend. Hey, Andy.